Okay, so I'm sure many of you by now are very familiar. If you watch YouTube, I'm sure you also watch the news about IRS scammers and telephone scammers, people pretending to be Windows or Mac to scam your computer with fake viruses, stuff like that. And I just wanted to post something to really put a damper on their efforts. There will always be scams out there. There will always be people trying to pull a fast one. But I'm trying to put something out there that is really going to diminish efforts as far as these scams are concerned. So first, if you have a Windows phone, if you have Android, Mac, iPhone, if you have anything like that, if you have a Windows, Android, or iPhone, get this app right here. Okay, the TrueCaller app. It's one word. It's available on all 3 platforms, and I would highly recommend this app. There are a lot of people. Right now it says 250 million users, a lot of which have invested a lot of time in reporting spam numbers, what they're trying to pull, stuff like that. So what it does is it recognizes the numbers you have in your contact list. However, if you get a call from an unknown number, chances are, if it's a scam, I can almost surely tell you it's going to pick up. TrueCaller is going to pick up if it's a scam. More specifically, if it's an IRS scam, stuff like that. So, on top of getting that app, I would highly recommend taking a look at a few YouTube channels. They cover this a lot. Hexium is one. I highly recommend checking out Hexium's channel. Scamming Revenge channel, they're also really good. And my personal favorite, Bernacules Nerdgasm. This guy is awesome. I friggin' love this guy. But he covers a lot of tech stuff that is really good and I really like. Hexium does, although Hexium does a lot of video games, they have a lot of stuff like this: Revenge Against Scammers, Linux versus Scammer, shutting down a scammer's site. A lot of great information on these 3 pages: Hexium, Scamming Revenge, and Bernacules Nerdgasm. I would definitely highly recommend checking out those channels, but only after you've downloaded this app to your phone. And you can do one of several things. 1, you can just choose to ignore the phone call. 2, you can report that you got a call from a scammer. 3, you can reverse prank phone call them. I love doing that. I love picking up the phone and wasting their time. I got this app after an IRS scammer tried to scam me, and I busted him right away. I knew it was fake. I know a couple people that have fallen for it, so I felt like it was time to come out and promote something that I knew would put a huge dent, a huge roadblock in their plans. A few ways to know if it's a scammer. For example, I'm not going to say where I live, but I will say I live in a decent sized city that has its own IRS office. I will say that. And I knew right away it was a scammer because they were calling me from several states away. And on top of that, they tried to say that I was committing tax evasion. And tax evasion means that you've purposefully avoided taxes. I've never purposefully avoided taxes. I always use TurboTax. That's my choice. Just because it catches little mistakes, like if you forgot to carry the 2 or something like that. You know, so I may have made a mistake like that TurboTax has caught and fixed before I turned it in. But I've never evaded taxes. And so right there was strike 1 and strike 2. Strike 3 was they were threatening me with an FBI warrant, which I knew the IRS doesn't do. You know, the IRS is going to try to make phone calls. They're going to try to fix it first. You're of no use to them in jail, that, you know, when you can be working and giving them money. First thing, they're going to try to work out a plan. Secondly, they're going to garnish your wages if you don't work with them. You know, jailing, you know, putting a warrant out for your arrest, that's going to be a last ditch effort. So that was strike 3, and I knew they were full of crap. Another thing that these 3 channels cover is Windows scammers or Mac scammers. Let me give you a few hints here. One, Windows and Mac, they're never going to call you to say that you have a virus on your computer. They're not going to do that. Also, no virus on the planet is going to give you a phone number to call to help fix said virus. So if you come across that, chances are what you've done is you've made the mistake of accidentally typing in goggle.com instead of google.com, or fakebook instead of facebook.com. Chances are that's what you did. It led you to a site with a pop-up, which, you know, they purchased that URL so for the sole purpose of putting a pop-up on your screen when you made a typo, for the sole purpose of getting people to call them to scam them. So that's what's going on. Now, something else I figured, this should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways. There are real viruses out there, and you do need to be careful. And a very popular one right now is ransomware. That's where they encrypt all the files on your computer, and they basically make you pay money to get the encryption to get your things back. And I can tell you with 99% surety, even if you pay the money, they're not going to give you the encryption to get your stuff back. So I highly, highly recommend you do things like, if you have a, you know, iCloud or something like that, store stuff on there. Get some thumb drives and back up all your photos, all of your important photos, your important files, your important music, anything you have on your computer that you absolutely cannot do without. Back it up. Invest in thumb drives, external hard drives, and unless you are putting information on it or pulling information off of it, make sure that it is unplugged, because anything plugged into your computer while ransomware hits it, it's screwed. So unless you're using it, unplug it. Unless you're pulling off of or putting onto, unplug it. Store it in a safe place. That way, if, you know, ransomware hits your computer, then you have some options. You can toss the computer and buy a new one. You can Google how to reset the computer to factory settings, which is what I would recommend. You know, just Google, you know, reset to factory settings on a different computer. Go over to a friend's house, take your laptop with you, or write down the instructions in detail, on how to reset a computer to factory settings, either from Windows or via BIOS, BIOS, which stands for Basic Input Output System. At least then you have options. And all the important files that you just can't do without are backed up. I'll give you an example. My wedding photos are backed up. There's not only a copy on my laptop, there's a copy on my wife's laptop, a copy on our desktop, a copy on my external hard drive, her external hard drive, and each of her parents have a copy on their computer. So if heaven forbid something happened, our wedding photos are backed up. We are not going to lose them. Just the odds are in our favor that we will not lose them. Always back up your backup, your backup. Always. It's just be smart about it. But anyways, what I'll do, I'll put some links down in the description of how to look up how to reset your computer to factory settings if heaven forbid your computer were to be hit with ransomware, and you can find, to make it easier to find those videos. But in the meantime, just to put a kink in the plans of people that would call you to scam you, again, I would highly recommend getting this app on your cell phone. You can get it on your Windows phone, Android, or iPhone. And I would recommend, again, checking out these 3 channels: Bernacules, Nerdgasm, Scamming Revenge, and Hexium. Just check out their channels. They're great channels that you can learn a lot from. So anyways, you have a good one, and hopefully this was informative, and I hope that this prevents a lot of scammers in the future. Have fun and be safe.